Hi everyone, welcome back. And today I'm going to be starting a new series right here on YouTube that goes over some of the most common postural issues that we can see in each stage of the pitch. So we're going to have a couple of videos in this series, and today we're going to be talking about the postural issues that we can see in the load. Now when you think of posture, you're probably thinking, oh, I want my pitcher to be nice and tall and stacked. And that's true for the majority of the stages of the pitch. And we're talking about a fastball here, okay? But there might be some different postural things that we need to see in the load, and we're going to talk about that today. But correct posture in each stage of the pitch is critical for both speed and command, and we're going to take a look at why as we go through this series. So today we're going to be doing the load, okay? So regardless of what your pitcher does in the load, whether she has a backswing or no backswing, whether she does a rock back or she kind of just pushes back and goes, we want to all get to what we call the end stage load position, the optimal end stage load position, which is going to look something, I'll just do it with a backswing for an example, something like this, okay? So what we see here is a sprinter's leg position. My weight is forward, chest forward, nose forward. Most importantly, my front knee is pushing straight forward past my front toe. I have relaxed bend in both knees. Okay, my back heel's up off the ground. I'm getting ready to push back against the rubber with this foot, and my body is square to the target. So you want to load forward, and then we're going to drive out, okay? So let's talk about some of the most common postural issues that I see in the load. And the number one most common issue that I see in the load would be loading down instead of forward. So a lot of times what you see, and this happens especially in pitchers I've noticed who do that kind of rock back load, or even, I really kind of truly wish that I'm okay with them changing the foot placement rule to, the start back, as long as it's not too wide of a stance. I truly wish with all of my soul that they never allowed the step back, because the step back has created so many issues in pitchers, from load positioning to the ability to drive out off the rubber to timing issues. If your pitcher is doing the step back, which again will look like this, they'll start here and then they'll step back as they load, I highly, highly encourage you, again, I can't force you to do anything, I highly, highly encourage you to take that away. And I'll show you why right now. So the first main issue that I see as far as posture goes in the load is loading down instead of forward. And this is most commonly seen with that step back or the rock back. So again, this is actually, and the reason I tell you to think about when we talk about posture, the load is the one position throughout the fastball pitching motion where we are not vertically stacked. And we don't want to be vertically stacked. We want to be loaded forward. Again, everything pushed forward, especially that front knee pushed forward past that front toe. A lot of times what I see pitchers do, especially when they do that step back, is they'll load down, okay? So you can see what I'm doing here. It's almost more like I'm sitting down into a chair instead of being pushed forward, okay? And a lot of that happens because when you do that step back, or you start with your feet too wide apart, or you do that big rock back, you are not able to then push that front knee forward and get into the load position, so your only option is to go straight down. You can see my knee is not going forward past my front toe. My upper body is upright, my chest is pulled back behind my front knee. So it's almost like I'm trying to be vertically stacked in the load when we don't want to be vertically stacked in the load. We want to be forward so that we can get ready to drive outwards. But again, when we do those big step backs, or when we have too much separation between our feet, it's pretty much impossible to get to that true load position. Again, you're going to be more in a position where you're sitting down and a lot of your weight is still on that back foot instead of pushed forward onto that front foot, and it's going to greatly affect your ability to drive out. So what we usually see when we have these pitchers who sit straight down is, instead of driving out and staying square to the target like we want to do, they'll start to open, okay, because they have no ability to push through that drive leg, and extend the hips. We might also see them push up instead of driving out. All of these things throw off timing, and as you guys know, I always talk about it, opening too early off the rubber creates just so many other issues throughout the remaining stages of the pitch that all stem from the fact that your pitcher was doing that step back or having too much space between those feet, and it prevented them from getting into that good forward load position. Okay, so remember, when we're in the load, we want to be forward. This is the one stage of the pitch where we are not vertically stacked, but it's all too often that I see girls, even if they don't have too big of a step back, sitting down or putting their butts back like they're about to sit down in a chair instead of loading forward and then driving out. We want to be forward. We want that knee pushed past the front toe. We want the chest forward, the nose forward. We want our body going forward, almost like we're going to feel like we're going to fall over, okay, before we ultimately push out. So that is probably the main issue with posture that I see in the load, and it is sitting down or sitting back instead of loading forward. We want to be in that forward position. We are not vertically stacked in the load. You want to get to that nice square sprinter's-like position so that you can then create true leg drive, true hip drive to get out into a really good reach. So the next video you're going to see next week has to do with postural things that we see in the reach part of the pitch. I hope you guys have found this helpful. I will talk to you soon.